himself has experienced homelessness as well. Well, Kevin Klein is a councillor who's been listening in and awaiting to join our conversation that Al was referring to. And Al was saying he applauded his reaction. So Kevin Klein, councillor for Charleswood, Tuxedo, Westwood. What was your reaction to hearing that these noise emitters were under city bridges to move the homeless populations along?
Two emotions hit me right away, and the first one was shock. I couldn't believe that in this day and age in our city that would be permitted. The second was embarrassment. We tout being, a multicultural place. Everybody is welcome. We're the human rights city, and here we are doing something that to me is discriminatory and unethical.
Now, late last night, we understood from the acting city manager that the devices were silenced. What's your understanding of that this morning?
Well, I saw that email, and it did not define, and it didn't say definitively if they were going to be turned off last evening. And I've heard from one councillor this morning that he heard from a resident that the sounds were emanating last night around 10:30. So yet again, we're not getting the answers on this, and this time it's unacceptable. We need to find out what happened. Someone has to be accountable. It's shocking to me. It's shocking that this happened without anybody on council knowing about it. Any member of a standing policy committee, the mayor, nobody knew. They just went ahead and did this. To me, is unreprehensible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I'm just kind of at a loss on this one.
You took some action last night. Tell me what you sent a letter. Is that right?
Yeah, I sent a letter to the mayor and included the CAO and all of council, and basically asked him to take immediate action and cease the deployment and use of the noise deterrents in Winnipeg. And I further asked him. I pointed out that I was shocked that this is the only solution that the full force of the public service could find. I Googled it and found 10 other ways that were being used that were effective, that were not as potentially dangerous. When we asked them to provide the name of the person or persons responsible for authorizing this, because someone needs to be held accountable for not informing elected officials. And I asked him also that he do a review of the program with all members of council participating. We need to know how it happened and how we're going to stop it from happening, because somebody has to stand up and take responsibility for this.
Just last, you mentioned that you looked at different solutions for if it is a challenge, in fact, and to move different populations. We just heard Al talking about and shouting out an officer for being directly involved in a positive way with moving one person from one place to another. What solutions have you read about that you might favor for our city?
One of the solutions that I've been looking at for a very long time was, and I couldn't do it in my previous position, but I would like to advocate to have a mental health nurse or a social worker paired up with a police officer, and their job would be to patrol, not patrol in the legal sense, but to walk around and help individuals that are in these situations, to move them to a more suitable location for their safety and the safety of all residents. I believe that's the approach. Why do you need the police officer? Just you need that for that safety, and then you have the mental health nurse again, or the social worker that would lead the discussion, that would be there to manage the situation. And that's happening, Marcy, in locations across Canada. You look at Edmonton, you can look in Ontario, Southern Ontario, where they have now mental health nurses that are traveling with a police officer and attending to these calls and attending to these situations. And they're having a positive outcome, and it's reducing cost on public safety. It's reducing the cost because we're starting to address these issues in a more humane manner. And that's what I would like to see. That's where I want our efforts to be put on, is putting in a program like that.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you very much for the time, and thank you for bringing this to light. It's very important that this was caught, and I'm so proud of Winnipeg for standing up and being angry and letting everybody know they were angry. Look how quickly the city responded. So people's voices do matter.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Kevin Klein is the councillor for Charleswood, Tuxedo, Westwood. He and another councillor, Sean Nason for Transcona, have both sent a letter to the mayor. They sent it last night, asking that the practice of the noise that has been emitting under some city bridges to move homeless populations along ends. Now, the city late last night said that they had ended the practice, but this is after it is a pilot project that has been ongoing since the spring, earlier this spring, and they ended the practice after, as Councillor Klein indicated, people started posting on social media that they were hearing this and taking, of course, exception to it. We heard from homeless advocate earlier in this half hour, Al Weeb.